Section 24, Escrow Accounts, Broker Trust Accounts, FAQ, Arizona Commissioner's Standards, Requirements for Licensees. Introduction, the moment money changes hands. Jessica was sitting at the kitchen table with her clients when it happened. The buyer handed her the earnest money check. It felt like a big moment. The deal was real now. But instead of celebrating, Jessica's mind immediately went somewhere else. What do I do with this right now? Because she knew, the moment money changes hands is the moment compliance begins. This section breaks down the most common real-world questions agents and brokers face when handling funds, using a practical FAQ format tied directly to Arizona law. What must a licensee do when receiving money? When a licensee receives money in connection with a real estate transaction, they cannot hold it, delay it, or decide what to do with it later. They must promptly deliver it to the designated broker. For example, if Jessica receives a check from a buyer, she cannot leave it in her car, hold it until the next day, or deposit it herself unless authorized. It must go directly to the broker's control. Another example is receiving cash or electronic payments. Regardless of the form, the responsibility is the same. Get it to the broker immediately. Jessica realized that agents are not the final stop for funds. The broker is. Where do funds go? After the broker receives them. Once the broker receives funds, they must act immediately. The funds must be placed into either a neutral escrow depository or a trust account in a federally insured financial institution located in Arizona, unless all parties agree otherwise in writing. For example, if Jessica's brokerage uses an escrow company, the funds are delivered directly to escrow. If the brokerage maintains a trust account, the funds are deposited there. There is no waiting period, no holding, and no flexibility. Jessica learned that immediately in real estate law means exactly that. No delays. Can funds ever be held outside Arizona? Yes, but only under very specific conditions. Funds can be placed in a depository outside Arizona if all parties agree in writing and proper disclosures are made. For example, in a property management scenario, funds may be held in an out-of-state account if the agreement clearly discloses the risks and limitations of regulatory protections. Another scenario is when funds are placed in an account that is federally insured or guaranteed, and all parties understand and accept the risks. Jessica noticed that while this is allowed, it is not common. Most brokers avoid it because of the added complexity and risk. Minimum requirements for trust accounts. Arizona law sets clear minimum standards for how trust accounts must operate. Funds must only be used for the purpose they were deposited. This means earnest money cannot be used for anything other than the transaction it belongs to. Complete records must be maintained for every transaction, including receipts, disbursements, and client ledgers. Trust accounts must follow generally accepted accounting principles, ensuring accurate tracking and reporting. Monthly reconciliation is required, comparing the bank balance to the client ledger balances. Interest earned on the account must be removed at least once every 12 months. And most importantly, client funds must never be deposited into a personal account or mixed with personal funds. Jessica realized that trust accounts are not flexible. They are strict systems designed for accountability. The $3,000 rule, limited broker funds. Allowed brokers are allowed to deposit up to $3,000 of their own money into a trust account, but only to keep the account open or maintain a minimum balance. For example, if the bank requires a minimum balance to avoid fees, the broker can deposit up to $3,000 to meet that requirement. Anything beyond that becomes commingling, which is a violation. Jessica understood that this rule is not an exception to use freely. It is a narrow allowance for operational purposes only. Electronic records. Be prepared for the worst. If trust account records are maintained electronically, they must be stored in a way that allows reconstruction in case of data loss. For example, if Jessica's brokerage uses cloud-based software, there must be backup systems in place to recover data if something goes wrong. This ensures that records are never lost, even in unexpected situations. Who can access and withdraw funds? Only individuals licensed under the broker's license can be authorized to withdraw funds from the trust account. For example, a licensed associate broker or salesperson under the broker may be granted authority, but an unlicensed assistant or third party cannot. This is a critical safeguard to ensure that only qualified and accountable individuals handle client funds. Jessica realized that access to trust funds is tightly controlled, and for good reason. Real-world example, the "I'll drop it off tomorrow" mistake. An agent received earnest money late in the day and decided to drop it off at the office the next morning. That night, the check was lost. The transaction was delayed, the client was upset, and the situation escalated into a compliance issue. Jessica learned from that story. There is no later when it comes to client funds. Escrow versus trust accounts. Two paths, same responsibility. Some brokerages choose to avoid trust accounts altogether and use escrow companies for all transactions. For example, instead of handling funds directly, the brokerage requires all checks to be made payable to the escrow company. This reduces the broker's responsibility for handling funds, but does not eliminate the responsibility for ensuring proper handling overall. Jessica saw that both systems work, but both require strict adherence to the rules. Bringing it all together: speed, accuracy, and control. Every question in this section comes down to three key principles. Funds must be handled quickly. Funds must be documented accurately. Funds must be controlled properly. Jessica realized that handling money is one of the most serious responsibilities in real estate. Because in Arizona, real estate, it's not just about receiving funds, it's about handling them perfectly every single time. Online discussion. 1. Why must licensees immediately deliver funds to the broker? Answer: to ensure proper handling, documentation, and compliance with Arizona law, reducing the risk of loss or misuse of client funds. 2. What is the biggest risk of delaying the deposit of trust funds? Answer: the biggest risk is loss, misplacement, or mishandling of funds, which can lead to disciplinary action and damage to client trust. 3. Why are only licensed individuals allowed to withdraw from trust accounts? Answer: to ensure accountability and protect client funds by limiting access to qualified and regulated professionals.